Hello, everybody. Welcome to Vida Tennis, the podcast for those of us who eat, sleep, breathe tennis. My name is Jennifer Gelhaus, and I'm your host. Today, I'm talking to Yannick Yoshizawa. He's the VP for a company called Sensorina, a Czech company that launched in 2018 and is now the world leader in cognitive virtual reality sports training. Sensorina for Tennis provides players with enhanced visualization, allowing them to improve the mental aspects of their game, such as anticipation and decision-making skills. Yannick worked for the WTA for 8 years prior to going to Sensorina. He played tennis for the University of South Florida, and he's originally from Brazil, where he was a prominent junior tennis player. Welcome, Yannick, to Vida Tennis, and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Jennifer. Exciting to be here, and thanks for the nice intro. I think I cannot even intro myself that way, so appreciate
it. No, my pleasure. Thank you for joining us, and I'm very excited to talk to you today about your career, and of course, we're going to be talking about virtual reality and Sensorina, of course. But I was thinking maybe we should just start with a little bit of your background. So I was wondering, when you were playing college tennis, did you plan on having a career in the tennis industry?
It's a great question. And I think, always in my mind, to be completely honest, when I came to college, I had no idea what I wanted to do after. I didn't have the huge aspiration to become a pro player, even though, I played future level and challengers in the summers and shortly after I finished school. But I think I never had that really feeling to become one. And I guess I wasn't willing to do the sacrifice, which we all know how much it takes. So I started really with studying finance when I was in school, just because I liked numbers and I think I did well. So it was something natural for me to go through those classes and go in. And that's so I majored in finance, and then I did a double major in management. And I actually did 3 months internship in an investments bank, because that's, again, because of the math and the numbers where I thought I would want to work. So I did my 3 months in my last semester of college, which I was very glad that I did, because it made me realize that that was definitely not a pathway that I wanted to take on. And then I guess sometimes, it's just be in the right time, right place. The WTA, which is based their headquarters in St. Petersburg, Florida, where, USF is just 40 minutes from there. They were looking for a finance intern at that time. And that's sort of how I went through the process, the interview, and, I got in there. And that sort of led me to, 8 years at the WTA, which I ended up doing a bunch of different positions. I worked in finance for about a year and a half and 2 years, which had nothing to do with tennis. It was very much related to the business aspect of tennis, which was great to understand how these organizations run. But I definitely wanted to be more involved in the tennis aspect. So then I moved to the operations side, which I took much more on the entries and withdrawals and rules aspect of the game. And then finished, I would say, my last 5 years. I went on to work for 2 years in player relations, which was traveling a lot on the tour, and basically, being the voice for the players. And then my last 3 years being the WTA supervisor, which is, again, traveling to the events and being sort of the main person to, from an operations perspective, the event, and also the officiating aspect of the rules of the game. So again, that's a long way to say that I guess I didn't plan it, but I've been embedded in tennis my whole life through my family. Right. And then actually, as I finished the WTA, I left in 2021. I would say mainly because I wanted to see what was outside of tennis. So I think a little bit of that feeling when I was in college. Then went to work on a consulting company for about a year, realized that I wanted to continue to work in sports, so which was a great experience, but I came back, and then again, just looking for to come back in sports, and then Sense Arena was hoping to expand into their second sport since they started in hockey, and that's again, I think like putting yourself out there, but I guess being a little lucky as well.
Yeah, it's a natural transition, when you have that tennis background. And a lot of times we don't realize that we're so passionate about tennis, until we don't have it anymore in our lives, and then it's like, oh,
Exactly.
'cause that's kind of what brought me also back to, coaching and stuff. I was doing science, and then, kind of started coaching, and now I'm like fully on, I've been in the tennis industry now for like 13 years or something. So it's, yeah, it's interesting. And what you mentioned about doing internships, it's so important. I wish I would have done more internships, because it does really kind of open your eyes when you're a student to see what you like. So I think that is really, really important, especially that senior year. Now, as a student athlete, that's kind of hard because you're so busy with the team and everything, So it's like
Yeah.
the summer might be your only chance to do it. But anyway, I thought that was a really good, kind of point to highlight there. What is your favorite thing about your job now?
Oh, there's so many, but I think the my favorite thing now it's really the innovation aspect of it, and then the main vision being increasing the athlete's performance. That's what excited me
Yeah.
the most when I got exposed to the technology. It was just that again, I think a lot of people think of virtual reality or anything, a lot of technology, I talk about gaming and so on. And like, but when I got exposed and really saw the ability that this tool can just help players in an incredible way that a lot of people have not thought about it. That again, virtual reality has helped so many industries, military, medical field, aviation, and so on. So like just being seen that now this technology has come to sports and tennis, it just got me really excited.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's start talking about, I guess, the virtual reality stuff. As a coach, I'm fascinated by virtual reality training, and I can only imagine that this is, the beginning of a new era in sports training. But let's take it back one step. If you can just kind of explain what it is and what it does, just for those of us that maybe are not too familiar with it.
Yeah, no, and virtual reality again, like even though it has been going on for a very long period of time, it's very new at the same time, right, from a general public. So, what we do, it's that there is a headset, so we don't manufacture the hardware in itself. So, the virtual reality headset that we use, it's the Meta Quest 2, which is done by Meta or former Facebook. So you can imagine being this, what a lot of people call goggles or, like glasses and whatnot, but you put this headset around your eyes and that covers around also goes in your back, which is actually not heavy at all with the technology how it is today. And it comes with two controllers that comes one in your right hand and one in your left hand. This is the, let's say, virtual reality set that you usually get from, and there's different companies, but I'd say the most popular one that we use is the MetaQuest 2 now. So now where we come in is that we're a software company where we have programmed basically this tool that as you can imagine, just like what you have your phone, you have multiple different applications that it goes in there. We're an application within the MetaQuest 2, right? So you download it, and then again, we're a training tool for athletes. We started in hockey, and now we're in tennis as well. And then what we do to again create that immersive aspect for the player, it's two parts. So we actually create a hardware. So in tennis, we actually create a haptic tennis racket, which basically you have one of these controllers that comes with the headset. You mount it into it, which gives you a very similar weight to a regular racket and same balance. So then when you actually put and you're holding this racket within arena, then you're actually completely immersed in this world of tennis, right? You're in the middle of a stadium court, and then that's when the customization and beautiful part of virtual reality, the visualization aspect, that you can actually see your racket. We're working with the head, so link a racket, so you can already see your perfect, beautiful head radical or head boom or Solinco blackout in your hand. And then you can customize your environment, right? You can play on clay, grass, hard court. The bounces also come differently depending on the surface. You can play during the day, at night. We can choose wind. So again, the whole purpose of this, and now to go into a little bit just very detailed to just tease the public here, it's that the whole point of being this training tool is we understand how visualization, it's a huge aspect of the game that can transform and this new way of training. And basically that not a lot of people have the ability to train in all different surfaces, first of all, and it just basically replicate a specific scenario that maybe you're going to be playing tomorrow on a windy day, and you know that you very much dislike wind, which I would say it's 99.9% of tennis players, but also just get your mindset, your brain training through the situation. So when you get to that specific situation, your brain is like, okay, I've been here before, I've done it, so it's less frustrating. You can concentrate better, you can react better, you can anticipate because you've seen that situation better, right? So that's more of the external factors, right? And then there's the internal factors that we basically work more now. Okay, we work on situational, right? So, there was a coach that has told me, like, you shouldn't be practicing shots, you should be practicing situations, because that's actually what you do on a match, right? So what we do is to allow players to choose a situation that maybe he or she are not comfortable with, or that they know that the player tomorrow is going to be serving and volleying, or will be coming to the net a lot. So okay, I don't like that when someone comes to my backhand, and I just want to go through the motions. And there's not a lot of time for you to get someone and just feed you balls to your back and then come into the net, right? Tennis, it's a very hard sport because it's so individual. So therefore, it's hard sometimes to very specifically create that situation. So these are the parts where we allow players to simulate the situation and do the repetitions. And again, it's all about the brain repetition, right? So just when we talked about you need 10,000 hours of, for you to get that perfect forehand or backhand, but like it's a lot of times that muscle memory, people forget that it starts with your brain, right? Your brain needs to get those reps. So if you get those extra reps without that wear and tear in your body, it's a huge advantage.
Yeah. Wow, that's so cool. And how much space do you need? Because you're not really running around, right?
Correct. Yeah. So again, this is the aspect, also an aspect of your customization. So we have drills that you can literally just work on anticipation. So we have serve and return drills that you basically you can be actually sitting and you just saying see the server. Okay, where the server tosses, where I believe he's gonna serve, where I believe she's going to, what type of spin she's gonna hit the serve. That is more anticipating, or to the point that like you're actually full on hitting volleys at the highest speed possible, that you're split stepping and hitting. So what we usually recommend is to have a 15 by 15. So just so make sure that you can fully take advantage of all the different aspects of the game. But again, it depends. Sometimes you can choose specific drills that you might just need, a chair and sitting down. But also, if you do want to do, and that's what we also talk a lot about, and what we do, it's not mental training, but active mental training, right? Because you're working with your brain, but you are also being active, right? So you're partaking into that learning experience instead of just, sitting and watching a video or being told to visualize something. So you're actually being part of that learning process.
Yeah. And does it do all the different shots? Can you do, serves, overheads, everything?
Yeah, so the only one that we still haven't put it is serves and overheads. We do returns, everything else basically. The serves and overheads, it's mainly we didn't want to start with that just because we were scared of like people just, hitting their ceiling, hitting their lamps,
Oh, yeah.
that it takes a little bit more. It's not about because it's let me put it this way, when you put a virtual reality, you can set your boundaries around you. You cannot set your boundaries up, so it doesn't
Oh,
recognize how high you're hitting if you're jumping and trying to. So
yeah.
it's something that we're able to do. It's just that we believe it's not the right time yet.
Yeah.
For that.
And the headset would probably kind of get in the way. I didn't even think about that. Um,
Yeah, yeah. The headset, I would say, is the biggest problem. But yeah,
yeah.
again, and I think
Okay.
the serve is so specific that it's not too much about anticipation and reacting. That we believe that it's probably more effective for you to go there and just get on court and serve because you don't really need anyone else to practice serve,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
and again, because our goal in the end of the day is for players to perform better on court, right? So we don't want to suck them in and have players just spend an hour into their virtual reality. It's a complement to their training, right?
Yeah.
So
Of
therefore, if
course.
there are things that it's actually better for you to do on court, hey, go out there and do it. We're here to actually maximize your potential and get better a little bit every day through a complemented their training tool.
Yeah. And so I'm guessing this can't, it's not really going to teach you how to hit a ball, say if you're a beginner. If anything, it'll help you with the timing and the anticipation, correct?
Correct. So exactly, we're not here to teach you technique. I think that's a very important thing. We're not here to teach you, hey, how to be the best spin or slice and whatnot. But all the way from a beginner to advanced player, the more you see a ball, right, the more you're going to be able to get it correctly. The more you see the clues of like, okay, he's going to hit that ball cross court and seeing that pattern, right, that's going to help me create that self-confidence, right? Create that decision making that will improve at the end of the day my forehand spin or slice or whatever that is because I can anticipate, I can react faster. Therefore, I'm gonna have more time to have the correct technique. But we're not here to teach you that technique.
Okay. Okay. And so with that being said, how sensitive is it to like your technical skill, say like your amount of spin, speed, length of the swing, how compact the volley is? Is it sensitive to that kind of thing?
Yeah, I mean, again, like we're not here to replicate tennis. I think that's one important thing for everyone to be aware of it. We know that with technology, it's definitely not even close to replicate the weight of the ball, right? The hitting your
Right.
strings and so on. So, if you go on a court and hit a heavy top spin and you try to do the same thing in hour, you're not going to hit that heavy top spin. But what we're going to be able to do is that, again, through the haptic vibration, your brain recognizes when you're hitting the ball. And, our platform, you can have a extreme western to a continental grip, it's going to recognize that you're going to be able to hit the ball as long as you're hitting the contact point.
Right.
So, like, of course, if you don't swing, you're not going to hit it. But if you're swinging it correctly, you're going to be able to make contact. And same thing with the volleys. It's going to recognize that you're hitting a slice instead of a top spin. But again, it's not going to replicate exactly that spin that you would see it on court.
Okay. And from what I understand, it's mostly based on drills, right? It's not and I don't know if it's just for Sensorina or just virtual reality in training in general. Is there a way to like verse another player or is it purely training?
Yeah, no, I mean, in Sense Arena, we don't have the, let's say, me in one side of the court and you, Jennifer, on the other side of the court.
Yeah.
But there is ability. There are games out there that focus on that multiplayer aspect. Now, we don't believe that that's the best way to train your ability. So now what we do, we'll have like multiplayer in the future. That basically means that I can train. Hey, I'm at home, Jennifer. You're at home, and then let's get on and be able to talk to each other and then do drills together because we know how important that social aspect of it is. In the competition that brings it out the best of all of us at the end of the day.
Right.
But yeah, so but again, the whole point here is to continue to go through those situations and see, hey, Jennifer, I know that you don't like to hit that forehand on the run, cross court. Let me tell you how to do it. Sort of that kind of competition. And then eventually, I'm not gonna say that we're never gonna get to that one versus one kind of thing, but we want to make sure that there's a purpose behind that, and it is because I feel that when you get to that aspect, the physics has to be very well done. So it's not just Wii tennis, and that we definitely don't want to be a Wii tennis. We definitely want to make sure that we're purposeful for the player's performance.
For the training side. Okay. That's important to know. Because I thought it was more like an e-sport type thing when I first heard about it. So that's important to know. No, that's great. And how did Sensorina develop its tennis drills?
So we have, 7 advisors. I would say the first ones that came in. So it's a Czech company, which you mentioned earlier on. So Martina Navratilova was one of the first one involved from an advisory perspective, along with Pavel Wisner, who is a former French Open finalist, and then also Czech. So that's how the drills started being developed, with their expertise and experience of like what are the most common situations of the game that we can prep up with, and like what are the different settings, what are the different speeds that you can actually help there. So everything that we do, we have an advisory board that it starts again with Martina, Pavel, and then we have our 5 other coaches. We have Claudio Pistolesi, who coached Soderling, worked with Monica Salas, and then as well we have coaches from high performance academies, right? Because they all have a little bit of different use cases on how to best execute and use those different tools. And then on the other side, we also work with neuroscience professors and sports psychologists to see what parts of the brain that is touching it. So all those drills are basically run through them, and then of course we do a lot of testing with pro players and pro coaches, of course, to make sure that it's useful, right?
Yeah. And how much of it like how many hours, I guess, of practice with it would you say would be like the most beneficial?
Yeah, we're very early on, so we're discovering that to see what's the best practice per se. What we have learned and what we suggest, it's based, a little bit in hockey as well. But I would say the sweet spot is that if you're doing, like 3 times a week at least, 3 to 5 times for about 20 to 30 minutes each day, we believe that that's really the peak that you can get. We don't recommend for you to do really over an hour. It's sort of your focus time, your brain. There's a limitation that you can stay focused within. So if you're not doing intentional repetitions, that's something that we don't want you to do, and just to get out there and just basically be hitting balls per se, right? There is a purpose that you're getting into it. So I would say 3 times a week for 20 minutes. That's ideal. And then, of course, if you can maximize, I would say if you do it every day for between 20 and 30 minutes, you'll be, I would say, the perfect scenario. But, tennis players, there is a lot of stuff going on in their lives. So.
Yeah, no, sure. And since Serena, you said started with hockey, but you mentioned that this type of training started with the military. Can you share more about that? How did that all come about?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have the in and outs of the other industries per se, but like, yes, if you do any research, the very high risk industries, such as the military, the medical field, I would say the two of them, as we know, it's a lot of life and death situations, right? Therefore, you cannot be put into the situation over and over again from a practicality aspect because it's very hard for you to simulate, being on a war field or being, trying to rescue someone and as well as a surgery, right? It's very hard. So you cannot just get bodies and do surgeries over and over again. So that's one of the reasons why they started doing this to now, okay, if you can make it as close as real as possible to that specific situation, your brain gets used to it, and it's all about feeling, receiving that feeling that you will be doing a surgery, right? Then when you're actually at that moment, then you're going to feel a little bit more comfortable because your brain believes that it has done that before. So again, I don't have the scientific part of those industries, but that's very similar on how it has grown in sports. It's those intentional reps. And then again, same in hockey, where it started. It was, the whole vision of the founder of the company was to basically replicate scenarios so those players could get those extra reps for them to basically perform better, right? Because then, just like in another scale, not maybe so much as life and death as the military or the medical field, but in sports, it's about uh, performance in that specific moment, right? How many players we know that says, "Oh, I cannot play how I do in practice. I get nervous when I play this player in a match, but not in practice," right? It's very much so like it's those specific moments. You can be the best practice player, but if you're not able to perform when it comes to that, match time situation, it's yeah, I'm not gonna say it's not great, but I think that's a lot of players are looking to perform at that specific time. And
Yeah.
then when you're able to recreate that specific situation that you're not going to be able to do and a lot of times in practice, that it will believe that we can help.
Oh yeah. I mean, we hear that as coaches so much from everybody. I think we hear it probably more with junior players, because they're still, I guess, their brains are still developing. So yeah, we hear that so much. I do so well in practice, and then it's so hard to transfer all those skills to match play, when there's a little bit more pressure. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's fascinating. Um, do you have, I know that this is all pretty new, but maybe even from hockey or, if you have any from tennis, or any kind of like stats that you can share on, the improvement in athletes that have used it, like, improvement in reaction time or, decision
Yeah.
making or anything like that?
Yeah, so I can share a little bit in hockey and tennis. As I said, we're just a little over 4 months old, so we're a newborn. So research is being done right now. We have a group of professors that are working with the data, but we want to make sure that this is valid. So it's a through process of review and all that kind of thing. So hopefully we'll be able to share it soon. But in hockey, we did have research basically done with for 3 months, and then basically there was a control group of players.
Mhm.
Basically, they used virtual reality as a type of training, and the other group did not use. They used just traditional methods of training. And then basically this group did 3 times a week, Sense Arena. And then at the end of those 3 months, there was a increase from the players who use Sense Arena of, I'm not going to remember exactly the time, but it was, I don't know, zero point 0.7 seconds more than the other group on their reaction time. So they were
Oh, wow.
reacting faster, which, as you increase your level, that point 0.1, point 0.2, point 0.3 whatever that is, that you can get a little bit of your reaction time faster will
Right.
make a big difference. So yeah, so that's what I can share in hockey. Again, I don't have the details, but I know how it was done, and the result was that virtual reality, or at least I would say sensory and more specific, has shown the improvement in reaction
Oh,
time.
that's great. Yeah, I mean, as athletes, we're always looking for that little bit of an edge, right? So, and if it's reaction time, I mean, that's such a valuable tool. And I understand that, this is all so new, right? Like, but I think this is the future. I think that there's a lot more to come from this. And as coaches, it's so important that, we're aware of the emerging technologies and, what kind of tools we're going to be able to use to train our athletes better. And I think this is a huge space. Where do you personally see this going, and how soon, like, yeah, I don't know, in the next 5 years or 10 years or in a year? I don't know.
Yeah. I wish I could predict the future, and I would say in 6 months everyone would be using this.
Hey,
But again, like I think the in sports in general, technology is catching up, and in tennis, it's been a sport that it's been so traditional for so long.
yeah,
Which of course, there is the huge education part, which I think is super important. The skepticism, that like people have, which it's totally normal. Again, but I think as soon as you start seeing the benefits, hopefully we'll catch up pretty quickly. So we hope to be really by the end of this year, being hopefully in the majority of the academies, in majority of homes. We definitely see this as being something that, hey, if you're a junior player, you should have this at home. Do
yeah,
that, right before you go to practice, or your coach said, hey, you need to really understand that lefty serve to your back and out wide, how to understand when he's going to hit that and how you anticipate and how you react to it. So, hey, just getting there for 10, 15 minutes when you get back home. So I think that's the beautiful thing about the virtual reality. It's that's so portable, and it should be a tool for coaches, right? They can help
yeah,
just enhance their players, which at the end of the day, hopefully will enhance your job as a coach, which at the end of the day is to make your player better, right? And as you said, from a junior's perspective, from that 10 to 17 is really the sweet spot, because their brain is developing so quickly and their learning process it's so quickly as well.
yeah,
But all the way from recreational. So our, let's say, target audience, it's really the aspirational player, that wants to get better, whatever that level may be. It's just that we know the juniors, just like anything else. If you're teaching a language to them, and if you're going to teach a language to me, I'm sure that a 12-year-old will pick it
right.
up much quicker than
They're
I
little
will.
sponges, yeah. But also, like, this is it's not just like a great training tool, but also kids love video games, and this is like a video game, right? It looks to me like it'd be super fun for a teenager to,
Yeah.
to get told by their coach, hey, you need to play video games. It's like, thank you. Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so I think that that's a huge aspect of it. Is there, so would you say like the drills incorporate some of that like fun aspect to it, or is it like super rigid? I mean, I haven't really been able to use it yet.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I can't really speak for it, but that's what you're here for, I guess.
Yes, no, no. It's great that you said that, and appreciate it, because that's the whole point. Is like is to be engaging, right? It's for the athletes to be engaged and partake part to it. So like we know that this generation, it's already immersed into video games or technology. It's part of their lives, right? Therefore, I think the expectation of any sport is to have technology included as part of their training, because if not, it gets boring, right? And we know that in tennis, it's hard, to keep the attention and engagement of players. And I know that it has been only very hard for to keep, players that are play until they're 10, 11, and there's a huge dropout in tennis because it's hard to keep them engaged. And like if you can just find a different tool, and then same also, like for young coaches, like they're looking also not just to be the traditional coach, just feeding
Yeah.
balls and telling them to do things, but okay, hey, I want you to, and I'm sure, I'm so happy that you brought me this, Jennifer, but I'm sure that like you're a coach that also you want to find different ways for your players to improve because that's the ultimate goal. So
Yeah.
we definitely we're not here to be a rigid training tool, like where you're inside of virtual reality being yelled at, but also actually, you're part of your training, right? Like it's okay. Jennifer told me that I should be doing this, but like now I'm immersed into this technology and I understand why Jennifer is telling me this. Now I understand why, because I think nowadays it's so important that you bring the athletes to their learning process, because I think the learning process has changed dramatically over the 20, 30 years, where, like the athlete needs to understand why they're doing at a
Oh yeah.
specific training instead of just being told to do certain things. So like the process, like, okay, this is engaging, this is fun, and I understand what I'm learning through Sensorina, it's huge, right? And then it will make hopefully your job easier as well when you're on court with them. You're like, now I understand why, I need to react a little faster when it's a second serve. Why do I need to position myself in a different way? Right. So all these little things that sometimes it's hard because you have limited time on when they're on court, right? Because of just different reasons. I'm sure you're very busy. That you have multiple players and multiple clients, but also just that aspect of your wear and tear. The game of tennis has become so physical
Yeah.
that like you cannot just be on court for 4 or 5 hours anymore, like you
Oh
need to
yeah.
find different ways to continue to get better, but let's say a little bit more efficient.
And less
And
impact on the body, any kind of drill that you can do where you don't have to actually physically hit a ball and have the impact on your knees running, I think is extremely valuable.
yeah, no, you're right.
So, oh, that's wonderful. And then you guys are partner with USF, your alma mater. Um, is this did this just happen? Was that just this year in 2023?
Yeah, we started conversations late last year. So we launched November 2nd. So, it's actually, as I said, a little over 4 months.
Oh wow.
But so, like I think it was a no-brainer. I'm based in Tampa and then be my alma mater. And then more than anything, I was lucky that Coach Ashley Fisher and Christina Moros, as you said, when you get exposed to them and they see the value of it, it's a no-brainer to have something like this. So they actually just started using the very beginning of this year. So February, so again, it's a new process for everyone, but yes, it's something very new for them as well.
Yeah. Where can people go to if they want to learn more about Sensorina, virtual reality, and all the drills? Before they maybe make the commitment to like buy the equipment and all that. If they're
Yeah,
not
so
in that whole world yet.
we have our website tennis.sensorina.com. You can find all the information, and you can find also, we have experts who write just white papers talking about mental training and how Sensorina can benefit you there as well. But on our homepage, you can see all the different 35 drills that we have. That includes just the different purposes and how it can help you as a player, as a coach. And then, of course, our social media, it's full of more of quick snaps of, so if you look for Censoring for Tennis on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, or any of this, you're able to find as well. And we have some reviews also already on YouTube. If you look for it, more of a like a lengthy review. that you can look it up as well.
Okay. And you have tennis and hockey. Do you have baseball or any other sports?
No, so there is a company that does baseball. It's called Win Reality, and we're good friends with them. Right now we have hockey and tennis, and then even we talk about how hockey it's two sports because they have the goalies and the players. So there are two different training methods in there. So we can even say that we're three sports.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah, I love hockey, being in Tampa. I'm in Tampa, like you. And I'm a huge Lightning fan. And I love watching hockey so fast. That's why I really enjoy watching it. So I can't imagine being a player. So yeah, I can.
Yeah, maybe you can also put yourself in and feel that like you're there.
Yeah. Oh yeah, exactly. I guess you don't have to be a hockey player to try it out.
Yeah, exactly. And the pucks won't hurt you that much. Just
Yeah.
like when you're training tennis, the balls, at least when you're not gonna get hit, and it's not gonna hurt when you're in the
Right.
hall is getting those balls very fast, and you don't have to pick up balls, which is also
Right.
it's
Oh
much
yeah,
more
that's the
efficient.
best part. Yay. No pickup. And then is it a subscription base or is it like a video game that you just kind of buy once and done?
Yeah, so it's a subscription base that we have that it starts as $19 a month to start. And
Just
the
for tennis?
whole yeah, just for tennis. And then we
Okay.
have hockey also, which again,
Okay.
it's players and goalies separately. And again, and the beautiful part of virtual reality is that when we started 4 months ago, we already released a new update and in December. And it's the whole reason of subscription because we know that the technology will evolve and we're going to be able to release new features. So in about a month and a half, we're going to be releasing also another features coming up. We're actually just doing what we call mini release in a couple weeks, which is going to be very exciting here. Just between us, you might be able to start seeing pro players serving to you as well.
Oh, I was actually going to
Yeah.
ask you about that. So can I return a
Yeah.
Eastern serve or serious?
Yeah. So again, it's try to replicate a little bit of those for you to be able to train what you're not able to train, right? To see the speeds that it's going to be hard for you to, and even if that might not have to be a pro, but if you're a 12-year-old transitioning to the 14th or the 16th, we know how the speed of the ball changes dramatically.
Oh, yeah.
So if your brain can just get a little bit of an advantage of seeing a faster ball, then it's going to be, easier to transition.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Wow, that is so fascinating. I can't wait to see where all this, how this is going to evolve and where it's going to go, because I really think it's the future. And I think there's so much more to come. I really do. But anyway, Yannick, thank you so much for joining us today and teaching us. This was like a, virtual reality for dummies course. So I appreciate you really explaining it from ground zero. So thank you so much, and best of luck with Sensorina and, growing it as much as you possibly can.
No, thank you, Jennifer. Really appreciate you having me here. And congrats on what you're doing as well. It's very exciting. I think it's the more we talk, the tennis world, the more information we share, we all get better in the end. So I appreciate you doing what you do.
I agree. Thank you so much for saying that. All right, Yannick, we'll see you soon. Thank you very much. Thank you all for listening to Vida Tennis. I hope you enjoyed learning more about virtual reality training and Yannick's career path in the tennis industry. Please remember to subscribe so you get notified when episodes are posted. You can follow us on Instagram at the handle Vida Tennis Podcast. You can also email me at vidatennispodcast@gmail.com. Feel free to leave us a review. Those can be super helpful so that other tennis professionals can find this type of content. I hope you have a fantastic day filled with tennis.